Get that going. Come on. Load up. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk and awesome rock. I am your host, Christopher Mader, and proving once again that the Meat and Potato Show is nationwide, I have a caller, Mark Callahan, running for Senate out in the great state of Oklahoma. Listen to me, Oregon. Starting off the show great here. And I want to welcome Mark to the show. Mark Callahan, calling from Oregon. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you, Chris. Good to be here. Thank you.
Great. Mark, so when did you announce your candidacy? How did all that start out for you?
Well, I announced my candidacy and formally filed this last August of 2013, and I've been traveling around Oregon here for the past 4 months now, basically talking to people, talking to a lot of good groups, and a lot of great Americans and great conservatives out there, talking at Republican Central Committee meetings. I spoke at a Right to Life meeting here recently, gun clubs, and AFP and 912 group meetings, and there's just a lot of Americans out there that really strive for freedom, and that's what they want in our country.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I think 2014, I think we're going to see even a better turnover in the House and Senate than we saw. I think it's going to eclipse 2010, to be honest with you. I mean, 2012, we took some hits, but I think this is going to be big this year. And I saw some recent polling that you sent me on Friday. I was very impressed with those results. But so who conducted that poll? And tell my audience how those numbers shake out for you.
Well, basically the Chute County Republican Party in Chute County in Oregon, the main city of Bend over there in Chute County, they conducted the poll on their website, and they didn't really publish it, but I have some people working for me on my team that did publish the link to the poll, and there's people from across the nation that voted for me in the poll, and basically what it shows is that I not only have support here in Oregon, but I have support nationwide for my candidacy for U.S. Senate to basically take down Senator Merkley. Exactly,
and that's how my show operates. Even though I'm in Massachusetts and you're in Oregon, I mean, this whole Meat and Potato Show, I've been doing this since 2008 when I was on the radio, and this is the very first thing I learned when I started talking to candidates and talking to, people that are in the Tea Party and on this, conservative movement and this take back of our country republic movement, that even though you're in Oregon, I'm in Massachusetts, everything is nationwide. Like, let's say you get elected and you get into the Senate, your vote and your decision is going to affect me here in Massachusetts, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's 100 people in the Senate, and every vote counts, and we gotta put people in the Senate that are conservative, like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee. And when I get there, I'm definitely going to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and Rand Paul to get our country back on the right track to freedom. That's just what it's about.
This thing has gone completely off the rails. I went on Senator Merkley's website. I read up on him. One thing that struck me almost immediately, and I copied it and put it into the interview outline that I gave you. Senator Merkley believes that a good paying job is the foundation of a strong economy. Merkley will work tirelessly to bring jobs to Oregon that focus on rebuilding our infrastructure, investing in clean energy, modernizing transportation, and creating the innovative jobs of the future. This is a big page. This is a page out of the big government handbook, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure the many union supporters are proud of him, but what I want to know from you is, what about the rest of the citizens? What about the people who can't find a job bagging groceries? People like me who have a 5-page resume. I'm either overqualified for a part-time job, or there's 25, 30 people ahead of me for a job that I am qualified for. What's your opinion on that?
Well, our country is based upon innovation, creativity, and American exceptionalism. And I just tell people out there that are looking for a job, don't give up. Don't become hopeless. But also don't accept the big government mentality that the government can provide for you. Government is the problem, not government solving the problem. And I'm paraphrasing Reagan here, of course. But I mean, the point is, you got to keep looking. I mean, I'll give you an example. I was out there for about 14 months unemployed here in this last recession. I kept looking. It got to the point where I was really ready to go down there and get a fast food job myself, just to keep a roof over my head and food over my daughter's belly. I mean, that's just what you got to do. You got to keep pounding the payment, not give up, and not become basically depressed that no one likes you and stuff like that. But the point is, if you keep going and you don't give up, then our country is based upon a free market system, and the free market will take care of itself.
Exactly. In here in Massachusetts, where we have a gubernatorial election coming up this year too, there's a guy named Mark Fisher. He's running on the Republican side. I was reading some of his stuff. I'm trying hard to bag this guy for an interview also, but even on his site, and you just said it too, you've been unemployed. Mark Fisher on his site has said, yeah, I've been laid off 5 times in the last, 5 or 6, 10 years or whatever he put down. And see, the career politicians that are in there, these guys don't know. They're either millionaires or billionaires. They pass laws that they don't have to follow. They've got these cushy jobs. They're driven to work. They get free parking, free health care, free lunch, free everything, thanks to us. You, me, the guy next door, Mark Fisher, who's running for governor here in Massachusetts, we all got to stand in the unemployment line. I mean, this is what we need for people like you that are coming in, and I don't know about your political experience, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say somebody like you who's an outsider to come in and say, hey, you guys got to get your head screwed on straight. You guys don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of you, or most of the people in Congress right now just can't relate. I mean, I've always been taught that you work for what you get because you value it more. I don't like handouts. I want to be able to work for what I get, and I value it more. And it's like the people in this bubble we call Washington, D.C. just can't relate anymore, and they don't realize what their fellow Americans are encountering. And that's when it's time for them to go. I mean, we need to freshen up the leadership in our country in order to get it back on the right track to freedom.
Right. I remember watching on TV Arlen Specter, he's gone now, but I remember at the town meetings, everyone flipping out, getting in his face. He had that deer in the headlight stare, like, what? I mean, again, a career politician, guy has no clue. These guys have no clue.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's like as I said, they lost touch, and basically our country was founded upon the fact that basically what you would do is you would work your job or work your small business in your community, and people in the community would come to you and say, it's your turn to serve. Yeah. And then the people would go up there for 2 to 4 years, serve their time in Congress, and then they would come back home and work their business. Well, right now, what you have these career politicians like Merkley, and you have other career politicians, these rhinos, and these non-conservatives, they're going up there for 20, 30, 40 years, and they got nothing to come back to.
Exactly. And when you read the Constitution, and they have age limits, because back then, in the late 1700s, people didn't live very long, and the concept was that, all right, we want to put older people running the country because, like you just said, you've worked your business, you've worked your job. Even if you were just a dirt farmer, for crying out loud, you did your time. Now it's your time. It's kind of like icing on the cake of your resume. It's like, yes, he did this, and this, and then before he died, he served a term in the Senate, or he served as president, or he served, in the Congress, or he served in the state legislature, and then, you only serve 1 or 2 terms. And then you move on. It's time for somebody else. And Merkley, like you said, is a career politician. I got some more notes here. He won his first campaign for state representative in 1998. And he was elected Democratic leader in 2003 and speaker in 2007. So I want you to tell my audience about your background. Where did you start? And tell us about Mark Callahan.
Well, basically, I'm 36 years old, and I'm an IT guy by trade, information technology, and so I fix computers and work on computer networks for a living. I'm just an average American, and I love our country. I'm a father as well, with 2 daughters. And I graduated from Oregon State with a business degree and a focus in management information systems in 2000. Worked in the IT industry, both permanent professional job or permanent temporary job or contract job over the past 13 years. And started running for office back in 2009, and when I was living in Eugene, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, in Eugene, it's kind of a liberal town, and so you can't really get elected in Eugene as a conservative. And it's kind of like a dog chasing your tail down there.
You're behind enemy lines there.
Exactly. So, basically, I don't give up. I just had to get off the couch, stop watching TV, and stop complaining, and actually get out there and do something about securing the freedoms that our country was founded upon.
Now, you said on your campaign page that your opponent most likely already has millions in his war chest, and I'm talking about Merkley again. Congress itself, it's a pay-to-play rigged system. I mean, you get in there, and, you know, if it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you take money from the DNC or the RNC, you know, once you're in, you know, they're like, okay, we gave you X millions of dollars for your campaign. Now you got to get on the phone and start raising money for you know, for your next campaign and for the party itself. And again, Merkley, as he's well aware of that, and I'm sure he's raised all sorts of money. But how does somebody like you, given your background that you just said, how do you meet that challenge in raising money for your campaign? Basically, what I want to ask you is do you have large donors, or is everything just grassroots for you right now? What's going on?
Well, a little bit of both, actually. I mean, donations have been coming in, and basically what I do is I go out there in Oregon when I'm traveling around the roads of Oregon, talking to groups. I go out there with the mentality that I got to earn it. And if people believe and like what I'm saying, then yeah, I'll earn it, and they'll choose, and they can choose. It's really their choice to donate. But the point is, I mean, I see what you're saying there, Chris, where basically you have these special interest groups that donate to a particular person's campaign, and they basically are beholden to that special interest group. Exactly. That's not me. I basically, as I said, I get out there and earn it, and people make the choice to want to donate, they'll donate. And my team and I are doing a great job in terms of having donations come in, and we file our FEC reports. We're going to be filing it here at the end of January, and we'll go from there. But as I said, I'm pretty much grassroots, and also I encourage bigger donors to donate too, but cool. As I said, I want to be able to earn it, is what I want to be able to do.
Have you reached that point? I know there's a certain point where you have to raise an X amount of money, and then at some point in time, I forget what it is. I was interviewing another guy earlier last month. That you reach a certain point, and then either the election commission or somebody kicks in a matching donation. Do you know what I'm talking about? Can you explain that?
Well, I haven't. I don't really quite know about that. I mean, I hear what you're saying in terms of like other groups and stuff like that matching that donation. I haven't been contacted by those groups yet. But I mean, the point is, as I said, I just want to be able to earn people's respect, earn people's belief in the same freedom that I believe in, and then also I want to be able to earn their vote and earn the donation. And that's just the way my team and I are running things.
Right. Now you're gonna have to. Again, let's say you get elected, you're going to have to deal with possibly Harry Reid. I mean, is that guy mentally unstable, or does he know perfectly well what he's doing?
Yeah, well, I think he's both. I mean, he's both mentally unstable, in my opinion, and he knows perfectly well what he's doing in terms of taking away our freedoms, and that's evil. Yeah. And evil needs to be vanquished, and I'm going to take care of that. I'll stand up to the guy. You know, I get in there, I'll stand up to the guy. I don't back down. There's actually a recent video that I put out there on the internet yesterday, or this morning, of basically me sitting in Merkley's face at one of his own town hall meetings in Madrid, Oregon. And I basically held him to task on his vote on the UN Small Arms Treaty. Right. As well as personally and formally challenging him to a candidate debate. The guy basically tries to play these aren't the droids you're looking for game with me. And I shut him down, you know, and basically that's what you got to do. You got to get in their face, you got to be aggressive, you got to hold them accountable.
And here's the thing, I mean, they're voting, they're allowing UN regulations, UN mandates, UN laws, they're pushing them onto this country, which is a direct violation of our Constitution. And
exactly.
But what causes this? What is this mentality that has taken over? And I used to just blame the Democrats, but after I've been watching the Republicans behave under Obama, I mean, everyone, they're all in this lockstep. They've got it in their mind that, yes, we are literally on that pinnacle right now, that we're about to fall off that cliff, where everything that this country was founded upon is now going to be gone. If we don't do something this year in 2014, it's going to be gone. By the time Obama's out of office, it's all gone. It's all done. We're going to live in a UN police state, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not representative government. It's not what our country's founded on. It's socialism and communism. If you want to call the duck, it's socialism and communism.
Right, it
is. That's the road we're headed down, and that's not the road that I want my kids to be able to travel down when they grow up. You know, I mean, our country's based on freedom, and not socialism, not communism, and whatever. I mean, we've had a cultural shift, yes, where the government is basically telling people, yeah, you need to come to us to get stuff. Well, that's socialism. When government controls it controls the means of production, I think that's communism. But when it's one of those things. But the point is, the government is not the answer to the problem. American exceptionalism, American individuality, American creativity, and individual accountability and responsibility are the answer to the problem. The free market is the answer to the problem.
Exactly. Attempts last year to defund Obamacare were defeated, and the Republicans were blamed. Yet the public seems woefully ignorant of the constitutional process where the House is responsible for all the spending appropriations. But the media buzz was that it was the Republicans that shut the government down, despite all the spending bills that they sent to the Senate and sent to the president for his signature. Economist Thomas Sowell published a great news article explaining that just that whole thing. And is this a symptom of public ignorance on the constitutional process, or is it a deliberate media propaganda spin?
It's, well, a little bit of both, actually. I mean, it's deliberate media propaganda spin in the fact that you have the alphabet channels, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CBS, whatever, are all in the can for the Obama administration. I mean, they're like his propaganda on them, you know, and that's not acceptable. I personally watch a different media myself, like Fox News, and then I also listen to the Patriot channel on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
But the point is, I mean, you have all this, I mean, our government is based on checks and balances. I fully support that 22-hour filibuster that Ted Cruz did.
Sure. And everyone said he shot himself in the foot by doing it. I thought it was stupendous. Same thing with Rand Paul when he did his. Absolutely phenomenal. Go on. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when I get in there, I'd be more than happy to do it. I probably have to train myself to use the restroom, but I mean, the point is, I stand with them. You know, that's what I do, because our country is built on freedom, and we need to keep that mentality in here in order to keep our country from going down the path of socialism. Because as I said, socialism is wrong and evil, and it doesn't have any place in our country.
And I posted a saying on my Facebook and in my blog: socialism has the longest history of having the shortest history in history. I mean, it's always been around, but every time it gets implemented, it never lasts long. It always fails just on its own merits.
Yeah, I mean, as Margaret Thatcher said, I mean, I'm sure I'm paraphrasing here, but it only works as long as you don't run out of other people's money.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, we're $17 trillion in debt here. I mean, our borders are like our sieve. We can't even secure our own borders.
Sure.
And our $17 trillion, that's a national security concern. Now, our southern border is a national security concern.
Yeah.
Let alone the immigration problem. But the point is, it's a national security concern. We got to get that in check if we're going to live within our means. I mean, Americans out there are being asked to live within their means, balance their checkbook, know how much they got going out, know how much they got coming in, and that's what they have to do. That's what I'm doing, and that's what a lot of Americans and our governments here are doing. They're living within their means because they have to. They have to live within what's in their checkbook. Our government doesn't seem to have that mentality, and that's where we need to get them straightened out and back on track.
Getting back to the border thing here, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the filmmaker Dennis Michael Lynch. He's done 2 awesome documentaries. He literally put himself in harm's way down there at the border. There's, in several of the interviews that he conducted while he was down there, there's 3 types of illegals coming across. One of them, of course, you know, are Mexicans and other South Americans and Central Americans. The other one is Chinese, and the third one, which no one's talking about, are Islamics. And a lot of them are jihadists and militants. They're coming across the border. Have you looked into that report? I mean, what do they see in Oregon? Do you have sanctuary cities there in Oregon? You must. I know we got them here in Mass.
Yeah, well, I haven't actually looked down the report, seen those videos that you were talking about. Yeah, we got an immigration problem here in Oregon. Basically, the liberals in the legislature basically passed this law here recently to give driver's licenses to illegal immigrants.
Right, in California, right.
They also passed the law to give in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. That's not right. You know, I mean, these people are basically getting a hand up or ahead of actual legal people or even out-of-state Americans. And they're given special privileges over actual Americans. Well, the point is, with the driver's license card thing, we stopped that. Basically, we have a referendum on the ballot here in Oregon to basically get that thing repealed. And so illegal immigrants cannot have driver's cards. And that's coming up there in the next election. I actually helped gather signatures to stop the driver's card here in Oregon for illegal immigrants.
I have always contended that this administration is the most transparent administration, and I'll tell you why. They lie to us. We know they lie to us. They know that we know they lie to us. Nobody does anything about it, and they continue to do it. Between IRS, Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the NSA, there seems to be no end to what they are blatantly and openly doing right in front of our faces. This is why I contend that it is the most transparent administration. To this date, there have been no indictments, no impeachment warrants issued, no, the investigations have all stalled. They're all now off the media radar. Now, what does this mean for the future of our republic? And second follow-up question, have we reached an oligarchic state now?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we have reached an oligarchic state. I mean, if you ever read the book 1984, you know, Orwell 1984, sure. That's what we're at right now. We're just here 30 years later after the book refers to it. But the point is, yeah, the future of our republic, if we keep going down the path that we're going down, it's socialism, it's communism. And that's not the path that I want my kids to grow up on. But the point is, we need for them to be accountable. We need to be accountable for them targeting conservative groups and for Benghazi. As I said, I mean, I kind of refer to it as these aren't the droids you're looking for maneuver, like, you know, from the Star Wars movie. But the point is, I mean, that's what they're doing to the American people. They're basically going out there and saying, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Move along. And that's not acceptable. You know, our country is based on freedom, and we need to have an accountable government to the American people and not just sort of push things under the rug and use the media propaganda arm of basically saying, oh, yeah, everything's fine when everything isn't fine. They're violating freedom, and they're basically, it's tyranny is what it is. It comes down to just, if you want to call a duck, it's tyranny.
Sure, right. And brings me back to my earlier question. I mean, these people know perfectly well what they're doing. They know exactly what's going on. And the funny thing is, at some point in time, they are going to have to be voted out. My big worry is that, you know, as time goes on, they're going to somehow pass some screwy legislation somehow that just seats them there for life. That's my biggest fear. And they continue to demonize political opposition. People say that the Republicans are the party of no. Well, first of all, they're the minority party in our government. It's their job to say no. That's how the whole checks and balances thing works out. And this whole idea of bipartisanship, oh, the Republicans, they're extremists and they don't want to compromise. It's like, it's not our job as the minority party to compromise. You guys, the Democrats are the ones that are in power. You guys are pushing all this legislation and trying to pass all this stuff. It's our job to put the brakes on it. It's not our job to compromise and say, oh, okay, all right, we'll let you pass this, and, well, we'll just deal with it later. It's the same thing with Obamacare. I mean, this thing has been shoved down our throats. All the mandates, everybody, Nancy Pelosi was right. We got to pass the law in order to see what's in it. Well, now we're all seeing what's in it. And the 40 million Americans that they championed, oh, these 40 million Americans, they don't have insurance. Well, now you can add another 5 million that have come onto the rolls thanks to Obamacare. And I want to know does that demonizing help to keep the low information voter loyal to the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, basically, they're trying to basically say, yeah, government is supposed to be the answer to the problem. And as I said before, government is not the answer to the problem. Government is the problem. That's what Reagan said. Even Reagan did it 30 years ago.
Sure.
And the point is, what they're trying to do is basically have single party rule, and that's what communism was back in the people are all out there, our government's all out there advocating for socialism. Well, they want to put a national socialism in place. Well, what do you think that fascism was back in Germany in the 40s?
Yeah.
You know?
Demonizing the opposition, that's a function of fascism. I learned that when I read Jonah Goldberg's book, Liberal Fascism. That was the title. A great book. A tough read. It's a tough read to get through, but unbelievable. He literally takes apart the entire history of progressivism, and he covers Italy and Germany circa 1930, 1940. And when I read those few chapters, I was like, no kidding. It's like we're seeing the same exact things today. I mean, when you watch, like you say, the alphabet networks, this is what we see. We see the Tea Party being demonized, and all they are is a bunch of people, you, me, the guy next door, who are just sick and tired of seeing all of this. And they demonize anybody that literally says, "Oh, wait a minute! No, wait a minute! You're not supposed to do that." And again, that's a function of fascism, and this is where we're at today.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I used to live in Eugene, Oregon here, and they recently implemented, as has probably been a common trend around the country, is some sort of plastic bag ban.
Yeah.
And in addition to implementing this plastic bag ban, they're now charging 5 cents for paper bags. Well, I went down to some Christmas shopping in Eugene at a local sporting goods store. Bought my kids some ski pants. And these ski pants aren't something that are small. I mean, my kids are 9 and 11, and they're growing kids, and so I kind of had to get them some bigger ski pants. But the point is, I went up to the counter, paid my $50 for the ski pants, and I was waiting there for a person to give me a bag to put them in, and they said, "Oh no, our bags cost 5 cents now." I'm thinking, come on, we think Eugene adopt fascist policies here. I mean, my God.
And here's the oxymoron that is liberalism. They want to ban the plastic bags to protect the environment. They want to charge you for the paper bags to protect the environment. But what they don't understand is some poor guy who runs a paper bag or a plastic bag company, he's going to see his profits drop. He's going to have to lay off a couple of workers. Oh wait, and now Obamacare, I have to lay off 2 more guys to put me under that magic number of 49 employees. So this is the oxymoron that is liberalism, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, liberals are supposedly for freedom, but they're only for freedom as long as you agree with them. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, with them anyway. But I'm personally for individual accountability and personal responsibility myself.
Sure.
And I'm for the actual freedom. The freedom that our country was founded upon.
Yeah, they're all for tolerance and free speech as long as it follows within their narrow litmus test, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So let's move on here. The war on terror. Obviously, we pulled out of Iraq. I know that things like that have to wind down eventually, but already we're seeing, Fallujah's been taken over again by Al-Qaeda. We're supposed to be bailing out of Afghanistan later on this year. That place is the surface of the moon. Those people, they're still living in the 5th century. And, how much longer can we afford this war? And I personally think we're going to have to revisit these places all over again, shortly down the road. And I want to hear your opinion on all that.
Yeah, well, basically in terms of Iraq and Afghanistan, we went in there to do a job to secure the national interests of the national security of the United States. And when you have Obama, a person that's never served in the military, basically dictating on what we're going to do just in the name of peace, he doesn't know what he's doing or what he's talking about. This guy is so liberal, far left, progressive that he basically could have wrote the second version of the Alinsky manual.
Yeah.
My God, this guy does not know what he's doing, and if the House does their job, when I get in there, I'll vote to impeach him, or convict him. But the point is, he needs to be gone in terms of being able to be our president via the impeachment process, in my opinion. And because he doesn't know what he's doing.
I would rather spend the next 2 years dealing with dunderhead Uncle Joe as a lame duck president for the last 2 years than deal with 2 more years of this guy. That's for sure. And when you look at a who's who list of everyone that's on his administration, everyone that's in his staff, there's practically nobody there that has any military experience. And I don't want to sound like a warmonger, but if you're going to run a country like the United States, you've either I think that should be a prerequisite that at some point in time you served either in the Guard or somewhere along the way. I don't know if you ever served, but if you're going to take that helm, you've got to have an understanding that the world is a crazy place. And the more that we try to placate, the more that we try to placate Islam, especially because, under Islamic rule, under Islamic law, anytime that an opponent or an enemy tries to negotiate or placate or try to appease Muslims or Islamic theology, they see that as a form of weakness. And they don't come to the table and say, okay, I'll be willing to negotiate with you. No, they see that as weakness. Oh, these people are negotiating with us. We've got them beat. And what they do is they step up their game. We see it in Great Britain because they're trying to appease. We see it in France because they're trying to appease. We see it basically all over Europe. We're seeing it here in the United States. The only country, actually I'm going to say two countries, Russia and China. I mean, Putin he's putting the boot down on their necks, and everyone's on his case. Oh, he's being intolerant. He's being cruel. I think it's time we do that. And I hate to be a warmonger, but if we try to appease, if we try to negotiate, they're just going to step up their game, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I mean, as I said, we're the United States here. We're based on freedom. We're founded on freedom, and that's what we need to stand for. But the point is, I mean, you can't have freedom and socialism. You can't have freedom and fascism. You can't have freedom and communism. I know what our country was founded. Our country was founded not to be a democracy, but a constitutional republic 37 years ago. And that's what we need to get back to.
What is your position on the NDAA and the indefinite detention of Americans? And again, actually, there's UN mandates in that stuff also. I want to hear your opinions on that.
Well, I've been attending some what they refer to as Oath Keeper meetings out here in Oregon here recently. I don't know if you're familiar with the Oath Keeper.
Very familiar, yes.
And basically, they stand for the Constitution. It's like military, former military, stuff like that, and then firefighters and police people that stand for basically upholding their oath. And I went to a seminar, I think, last night that they were conducting on the NDAA, and I've done the research myself in terms of it, knowing that it was based on the AUMF, the authorization to use military force right after 9/11. And then there's been different versions of it over the years, like 2007, 2012, 2014.
Sure.
And I'm against indefinite detention of Americans. I mean, I think that violates the Fourth Amendment. It also violates the Sixth Amendment, the speedy trial. And it also is in violation of Hockey Comitatus back from 1878.
Sure.
And so, I mean, the indefinite detention part, that's against the Constitution, that's against freedom, and that is tyranny right there.
And you're almost preaching to the choir here. It's amazing. Again, it brings me back to that whole transparency thing. They know what they're doing. We know that what they're doing. They know that we know, and they're just doing it anyway. I mean, it's criminal. It's criminal, and I'm just flabbergasted why there hasn't been the type of impeachment and the type of zealousy that was present when Clinton, just lied or just didn't tell the truth about Monica and didn't tell the truth about the Rose Law Firm and all the other stuff. I mean, that's it pales in comparison to what's going on now. And the House and Senate went after him in spades on that. Here we have an actual criminal conspiracy going on, and nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what my team and I have been holding ourselves to and holding ourselves accountable to is basically 5 things in our campaign. Those 5 things are leadership, integrity, character, honor, and trust. I mean, my parents were both Navy, and so I learned about honor, integrity, and character from them. And then I also am an Eagle Scout, too, so I learned about all 5 things actually when I was an Eagle Scout. So, or when I am an Eagle Scout still, I guess. But the point is, that's what we need to get our country back on. I mean, we have those 5 things within each of us, and we just need to activate them basically and get off the couch, stop watching TV, and stop complaining, and get out there and do something about it to secure our freedom.
Unbelievable. Mark, I wish you the best of luck. I want to thank you again for being on the show, and you are coming back on. I want to check back with you as the season goes on. You're already on my list, so you're coming back on the show. I want you to give my audience your campaign information, a phone number, a website, anything that they can get hold of you on.
Sure, yeah, I mean, I'd appreciate all the help I could get. I mean, I'm always looking for volunteers and donations as well, and I could really use the help out here in Oregon to basically take down and take down Merkley. Senator Jeff, the incumbent Senator, liberal, progressive Senator Jeff Merkley, take him down in terms of not allowing him to go back to the Senate in 2014 and 15. And my website is at callahanfororegon.com. That's CALLAHANFOROREGON.com. I'm also on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. My Facebook address is Facebook.com/Callahan for Oregon. That's again, that's CALLAHANFOROREGON.
Yep.
And then I'm also on Facebook with the Twitter handle, or not Facebook, but Twitter with the Twitter handle of Callahan, the number 4, and then Oregon, which is at, and then CALLAHAN, the number 4, and then FOREGON on Twitter as well.
And what I'll do is as I develop the footage here and get it out on my page, I'll post your email address or your website address and all that stuff so that they can get hold of you on that. I forgot one question. Who else? Anybody else running either as your opponent against Merkley, or is it just you right now? What's going on with that?
Well, there are a couple rhinos in the race. I mean, I tell you that right now. I mean, there's a couple establishment types in the race, and I'm the non-establishment type. I'm more along the lines. I embrace the Tea Party. I'm a conservative first, so I embrace the Tea Party. And there are a couple rhinos and establishment types in the race. I mean, there's a guy out of Bend